When you're kind of the first in any type of industry like that to do some type of product, what was it about that you were like, this is going to shape and change people's skin?
It really works. And you know what? There's not many things out there that do work. Truly, clinically, on everyone. The research behind that is head and shoulders above anything else. It's the gold standard in skincare in terms of skin rejuvenation.
And if I am in my 20s, and there was a cream next to me that was like this regular, just redness neutralizing moisturizer or an anti-aging one, how am I supposed to know which one to use?
It comes down to more your routine. So then if you have a particular issue with redness, then yeah, you need a product that solves that. Generally, you do want to have kind of ingredients that are protecting your skin's longevity.
Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Dare to Be Fearless. If you're not following this show on social media, make sure to follow at Dare with the number 2 Be Fearless, as well as my social media, which is at Alexa_Curtis. If you tuned into last week's episode with Lauren Gray, so many of you reached out about it, and I mean, she truly is an icon. I literally could not believe at age 22 that she has 53, I think, million TikTok followers. It just feels oddly insane to have that much responsibility as a young person. But I feel like if you are looking to enter this particular space, either entrepreneurship or anything more personal branding or creative, that it is a really good episode to watch, because it also introduces a lot of topics about TikTok and scaling a business and brand partnerships and a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily realize. And if you're also tuning in this week, it is Black Friday starting on Friday. So Chief Swag Officer is doing some really awesome Black Friday deals, which I will put in the show notes. So head to chiefswagofficer.com if you want to find out more about that. So skincare is not a topic I am really quite good at. So when I got pitched this particular founder, I was super excited, or founding partner, to have him on, because not only do I have so many questions just personally about skincare that I always seem to ask people, but then never know who to trust, but I also have used this product for quite a while. So much so that when I even sent a few of my friends the pitch, they were like, oh my gosh, you need to have him on, because so many of us know this brand in the US, in the UK. It was started in the UK, but it is pretty much sold in worldwide at this point. I also have 2 of my favorite products from Medik8 here, and I've got Daniel Isaac here to talk about the brand. And just so you know, this is not a paid partnership or anything. I really do love this company and have so many skincare questions that I thought we could address today. But 2 of the products in particular that I really like are the Calmwise Color Correct, which is awesome. It's a neutralizing moisturizer. My face gets super red. I'm very pale, so this is really helpful for me. And then I've noticed as well in the winter, the hyaluronic acid with NMF. I have no idea what that is, but I'm going to find out. Replenish and boost their Hydrate B5 Intense is awesome. So Daniel, thank you so much for being here today on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I can't wait to get stuck into it.
So your brother started Medik8 originally, and then following university, you came on as a founding partner.
That's right. Well, I actually got a call from him while I was studying. So I was like doing my homework, whatever I was doing at the time. He had this kind of early stage brand idea for something that would bring together science and ethics. And he was really inspired by Anita Roddick, who founded The Body Shop at the time. And he called me up just to sort of make this vision sort of real in terms of the science side and really pushing the boundaries of products. So I joined in the very early stages and sort of defined a lot of the principles, those founding principles that have led to the brand that we now know as Medik8.
This is a very popular brand as well. I mean, from social media to stores. I bought there's like a not chapstick. It is a chapstick, I guess. Lip balm. Yeah, it's Space NK, I think in Marylebone. Months ago, before I had even been pitched you, and that particular product is phenomenal, because my lips, especially in the winter, I mean, just head to toe, I feel like my body gets so dry in the winter, but I fell in love with that product. So how long before you joining had he established this brand?
So it was a couple of years old. So we had, a few people, a little office. It was actually started in the back of our father's pharmacy in what was actually a shed. So it was very humble beginnings. I joined before we even had a lab, before we were doing anything. It was really, I joined sort of to actually create the capability of the business with respect to product and actually start producing products ourselves, because we weren't really doing it back then. So it was about, defining what is this product strategy and what is the future of this brand with respect to genuinely delivering exceptional results, but also a great product experience is exactly what you described with the lip balm.
And the actual year that Medik8 started was?
So that was 2009, and then I joined in 2011.
Did you, as brothers, ever think you would get into business together?
No, I don't think so. It's funny because we grew up, as I said, we grew up in my dad's pharmacy. So like we were just immersed around, his pharmacy life and, being in the community and all the different kinds of stuff that he was selling in this pharmacy. So we'd always been around the kind of the medical side and the entrepreneurship of my dad as well, because he was selling all kinds of stuff. It wasn't just drugs and creams in there. And so we'd always been around and we'd always had ideas. But yeah, I mean, it was very much kind of an opportunity that arose because he saw this need for science within the skincare. And then I was the chemist that could actually work with him to make this, this partnership come to life.
I would assume your brother is a bit older than you.
A few years, yeah.
Okay, so when he had started it, was there kind of instant success with Medik8? I mean, how much trials and tribulations had he experienced prior to you joining? I
mean, prior to Medik8, he had worked on a few different experimental businesses, and he had various successes as prior to that. But when I joined, as I said, it was very much the formative stage of Medik8, and it was really hard. It was really hard at the start because neither of us had any knowledge of the industry whatsoever. We weren't consumers, and we didn't know about the market. And so it was very much around, it was a very purist approach to starting this business, which was around really understanding the core of how good skincare should be and approaching it from my perspective, especially from a scientific mindset. And that was great in terms of the future. It's like, wow, if we just focus on the truth and what really works, eventually there'll be a market for that. But at the time, there was no information out there. Nobody even knew what retinol was, if you can imagine that. And so it was really hard. We were really pushing ourselves to deliver great products, but it was very hard to kind of educate people as to what that value proposition was because the information just wasn't out there at the time. So it was a hard sell, and the products themselves were very difficult to produce. So there were a lot of challenges in those early years.
Back in 2009, let's think. I mean, what are some of the top brands back then? Like Elizabeth Arden?
Exactly.
Bobbi Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like not the OG days, but kind of the OG days of skincare. Whereas now you go on, for example, a 25-year-old's like, oh, my skin's dry. The first thing she probably does, right, is go on TikTok, search up how to heal dry skin, and then flooded with a bunch of probably what I would say is 99% bullshit and 1% truth. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot out there. There's a lot of information and there's a lot of brands. So it's a completely different industry. But what's worked very well with us, what we've been very fortunate is that because we've had a sort of a timeless philosophy in terms of product, and we've always been about sort of truth. Originally, it was a case of putting the information out there. Now it's a case of simplifying it for people. So we have very much stayed as that kind of methodical, clear, consistent, hopefully voice of reason in what is a very convoluted space. And it can be so hard to navigate what a good skincare routine should be and how you should solve, for your latest skincare issues. I get the challenge.
Do you feel like the industry now has become so saturated because of social media in comparison to starting in 2009?
Absolutely. Because it was, there was always this mix of beauty and skincare. And I think, especially during COVID, where people became so much more engaged online, learning about the skin, it created a much larger market of people that were willing to invest in great skincare, more products, which isn't necessarily always a good thing, but, building out a whole routine, making informed choices, spending more. And that's obviously very attractive to industry. You've got very engaged consumers willing to spend more. And so brands are then, coming to the space with a much easier route to market as well via D2C, of course, and e-commerce. So there's less friction in terms of getting the brand out there, and the consumers are very engaged. So of course, that's exploded in terms of choice for consumers.
Before we get into what I assume so many people are tuning in, which is like the nitty-gritty on skincare, on the business side with starting the company and getting customers, were there early on trials that you guys had to do to decide? Because I'm going to butcher the name, but retinaldehyde, how do you say it?
Retinaldehyde.
Medik8 pioneered that, which most people know is retinol, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We pushed through that. So, I mean, for us, we started, again, with no resources whatsoever. So it's very organic startup business. And so our starting point was all of the amazing research that had come before us, from universities, from laboratories, from other brands. And so we were looking at literature, what was published independent of us. And that was kind of our starting point as to what are the ingredients that really have been clinically shown to work. And that was very clarifying for us in terms of what we should focus on. It also gave us a lot of belief in the business because like, well, we've discovered the truth, and not many people were talking about retinaldehyde or retinol, the classic retinoid ingredient. And so we kind of discovered this. And so that was really the platform for our innovation journey and our kind of brand journey, really, was to focus on the things that really worked. And then we would just, I had like a makeshift lab where I was making up, very basic formulas at the time with these ingredients, trying to stabilize them and keep them potent and non-irritating. Very difficult. But for sure, as we've scaled, we've now got a laboratory. We have, the resources to invest in trials, clinical and consumer. But that's very much been a gradual process from originally, learning and using what the research that had come before us to now it's about actually doing our own research and putting out new information in the world of cosmetic science.
So what in particular about retinol were you guys so keen on pursuing? Because, when you're kind of the first in any type of industry like that to do some type of product, what was it about that you were like, this is going to shape and change people's skin?
It really works. And you know what? There's not many things out there that do work truly, clinically, on everyone. And when we discovered that, looking through all the trials, this class of ingredients called retinoids or vitamin A, sort of interchangeable terms, the research behind that is head and shoulders above anything else. This is the gold standard in skincare in terms of skin rejuvenation and in terms of the number of different benefits it can do: firming, smoothing lines and wrinkles, decongesting, evening out the skin tone. There's nothing that comes close. And yet consumers were so underserved with this ingredient and like quality uses of this ingredient at the right concentrations in lovely formulations. And so for us, it was like, well, we just have to focus on that because this is the thing that really works. And that led to our kind of discovery of, well, firstly, our understanding of all the different types of retinols, but then that particular one you mentioned called retinaldehyde, which was just the absolute best. It was better than the classic retinol in every way. It was no more irritating, but it was very difficult to formulate with, which is why no one else was using it. So that was our kind of, okay, this is our time to innovate. And then we did the work and researched the ingredient, formulated with it, and then put the information out there so it became a known category and sort of defined the category of that ingredient.
For men and women, correct?
For sure.
Are all of these products
Absolutely
for men and women?
Absolutely, yeah. Skin is skin. There are differences in gender, in skin tone, in skin type, but broadly speaking, the fundamentals of a good routine are very consistent.
Women have these 12-step routines sometimes that I see. I don't have that kind of time or interest. I don't know if that's going to make me in 20 years like have the worst skin ever, but do I need to have a 12-step routine with everything in the morning, in the night? I want the real answers here.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. You can keep it quite simple. We believe in 3 steps that are absolutely critical for your skin's health and appearance. And that is, in terms of ingredients, that's a vitamin C and a sunscreen in the morning, which is going to protect your skin. It's going to give it radiance. It's got antioxidant. Of course, you need SPF every day to protect from the sun. So this is the absolute core in the morning. And then at night, it's the vitamin A, which is the retinoids. And that's going to rejuvenate and refresh your skin cells to keep you looking glowing, decongested, evening the tone, reverse all of the sun damage that you accrue over the years. So that's the absolute core of every routine. And then sort of to top and tail of that, you need a cleanser and a moisturizer. Now, there are other things that you can add in there. If you've got certain concerns, you could add like a targeted exfoliator or a targeted additional serum with peptides or something like that. But, the start and the core should be those essential steps, and that's CSA.
I think my problem for me with skincare is that there is so much information. Even one time my sister was like, you're using too many different brands. Like, only use the same brand. Should I pay attention to that? Is that true?
There is some truth in that, especially with Medik8, because we develop products to be used together in some way. So we think about a whole routine, and we consider how our products can be layered and used alongside other products, and that might be true for other brands as well. So there might be some truth in that. I'd say broadly speaking, you don't need to overthink it to that level. I do think it's about keeping at the start quite a consistent, simple routine, and going with what your skin sort of is telling you, and then trying to be consistent with that, not trying to chop and change too much, I think would be a more important principle to follow.
When she said that, I was like, okay, it does make sense, because think like every time you introduce a new product, right? I would assume that Does that do anything to your skin? Like every time you introduce something new, does it like in a negative way, in a positive way, and it doesn't really matter, just see if it affects you way?
It can be positive, it can be negative. So I think generally your skin just wants sort of consistency. If you're chopping and changing too many things, even with great ingredients, your skin can become quite imbalanced, and that shows up in how your skin looks and feels. So I think consistency is key. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try something new. For me, whether it's a new technology or it's just something fun you want to try out, we should embrace that in the industry because it's so fun and it's such an enjoyable part of our daily lives and routines. But don't like change too many things at once. Don't try every latest TikTok trend because it will imbalance your skin. So try and be relatively consistent with your routine.
What about with the price point for Medik8? Because I mean, I've bought like Barbara Stern before. I've bought La Mer. I mean, they're very high end products. And then more, I think Kiehl's is definitely the one. I actually don't have any. I haven't bought Kiehl's for a really long time. But if I could have thought in the US, like one brand that always stayed really consistent price wise and quality to me was Kiehl's before I moved here. So what do you think about those expensive skincare brands? Is it worth buying something like a $400 moisturizer? And how did you guys determine the prices for Medik8? Because you're not on that level of like a $400 gold moisturizer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too skeptical about it, but I do believe in fair pricing. And we are a fully in-house business, so we develop and manufacture everything ourselves.
All in London.
In just north of London, and so we have control over our supply chain, and we invest that back into the R&D, but also it means that we can keep our prices controlled, as obviously relative to inflation. And so, we think that, there should be some ethical consideration when it comes to pricing your skincare. We do put a lot in our skincare, so that's why we're higher priced than some in the market, but as you say, much lower than the very top end. But we don't compromise on the quality. So I think that's very much our principle, is sort of approachable, fair pricing.
As a skincare expert, why do you think that some brands charge that much? I mean, again, like that crazy expensive $400 moisturizer. Is it because of, in particular, the name of or that cult kind of following?
Yeah, I think, marketing is expensive. So sometimes it's a case of, if you want a beautiful design, you want beautiful communications, you want beautiful packaging, then, that's a way to, you charge a high price for your product, and that's how you can kind of reinvest in that way. We're very much focused on the quality and the efficacy of the products, and we reinvest in R&D. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. Because again, I mean, I think marketing is a huge part of that. And obviously you can afford to pay that. It makes sense. But I always think of, for someone who wants to be able to have the whole package of products, regardless of whether you have the money to spend $400 or not, it's about the quality, right? So it's like if so-and-so or some celebrity didn't use that particular product, is there really any difference? What about some myths with skincare that I would like to be perhaps debunked? Anything that you've seen over the years or trends that you're even seeing now that you're like, that's wrong?
Trends can be quite an anti-term in terms of science-led brands. I am sort of pro-trend in terms of understanding how the consumers are changing. What I'm not a fan of is pseudoscience, or when the industry is pushing something that isn't really legitimate. And I would use CBD, for example, within skincare as an example of that. A lot of brands got into it, and we were really interested because, okay, wow, it's sort of an emerging space within research. Obviously, it's been destigmatized a lot more than it used to be. And there's some great nutritional benefits, but how does that really relate to skincare? And we decided not to go down that route because there wasn't much science behind it. And we apply that same level of rigor to everything. So yeah, I'm sort of pro-trend in understanding how the consumer is changing, and changing now towards being very barrier focused. But that's something that is supported by science and is legitimate, and it's something that we're responding in terms of our products and our education. So I think it's about putting us in a really informed position to discern between pseudoscience or kind of like a marketing led trend versus something that is new, emerging, true science, or something that the consumer now really does care about.
How do these trends though start? I mean, CBD, I think that's actually a great one in particular. Even when I go to a farmer's market now, it's like CBD for this and CBD for that. I don't understand anything about it. I've tried these products. They don't do anything. So do you know where that kind of stemmed from?
Well, there's a lot of research now in terms of therapeutic benefits, with CBD, and so when there's some truth, that can be extrapolated to like across industries, and then it becomes something that consumers are kind of looking for, and that then is the incentive for brands to start over communicating, and so that's I think where it arose. It's sort of being destigmatized, and then some interesting true nutritional benefits, and then that just gets extrapolated and stretched out to other industry, and I think that's how it came to be prevalent in cosmetics.
So why did you guys not include it?
Well, because we looked at does the CBD molecule really have therapeutic skincare benefits, and there is some, and it's about kind of soothing, a slight anti-inflammatory, but there are way better ingredients at doing that. It wasn't like this new panacea miracle cure that it was kind of built to be, and so for us there was just no real need to put it into skincare. It doesn't have great absorption as well, and there are much better ingredients to focus on. So that's why it was like, well, we think this is more a fad than a legitimate new ingredient that would, that should rise to the priority within someone's routine.
It's also just like part of THC, right? CBD is like the other part of...
It's the other part of the cannabis plant, yeah.
Yeah, which is just so strange to me. But I would say it's persistent. Like there's a lot of these other trends I've seen come and go, but I still see CBD skincare or CBD creams. So there has to be like some form of something in it that works, or is it truly all just a trend?
There is some the molecule is cannabidiol within skincare. The problem is it's very highly regulated, so you can't use high doses in cosmetics. You can't use anywhere near the dose that you get in supplements and things like that. So there's not a high dose, and then the science at those lower doses just are not very supportive of true effects.
Do you find that a lot of these brands are not honest with the marketing behind?
I wouldn't say dishonest is a very charged term. I think that there's you could sort of focus to your nth degree on this particular active, and where in fact there's something else in the formula that's really doing the work, and that's actually not that interesting or exciting. So I think there can be, it's not necessarily dishonesty, it's more sort of smokes and mirrors to kind of create an interesting, cool, marketing focus for the product. But again, I just always see a short shelf life with that kind of approach. And we always have believed that the truth will rise to the surface, and that especially now, like the information's out there, and people are turning to more trusted individuals, and so we want to align ourselves to that space because we believe that's the best for the longevity of your business, and that's certainly what gives us quite a long life cycle of our products. We tend to not chop and change our portfolio that much. We just curate, we add and we edit, and our products last a long time in the market.
So talk to me then, if you're a person and you're like, my current skincare routine is not working, you're the average price point you're looking to say spend Medik8 prices or less, but things are not working. What's your advice for that person? Like, should they go to a dermatologist? Should they just keep trying new things? Should they listen to more podcasts?
Always more podcasts.
Yeah.
I think that you can take things into your own hands much more than you used to, for sure. I think look at what your concern is. What is not quite delivering on your routine. I always say, and I don't want to sort of bang this drum all the time, but having a CSA, a vitamin C, a sunscreen, and a vitamin A. If you haven't got that, I would make sure you have that as an absolute starting point, because the benefits are just proven on so many people, and they just do everything for your skin's health and rejuvenation and protection. So fill that gaps if there are any. And then for sure, look at what's missing. Are you still finding yourself a little bit decongested? If so, turn to an acid or go to a slightly stronger acid. If you suffer from, barrier, then dial up your moisturization. There is a lot of optionality. I think, really kind of try and understand what your issue is, and then, lean to a brand that actually can support you and provide that information. And that's why, as a brand, Medik8 puts a lot of information out there to actually help people make informed choices. You can fill out a questionnaire as to what your issues are. We also have kind of consultations to sort of discuss your issues, and there usually will be a step or a change of the routine that will start to tackle that issue. If you have a really persistent skin condition, for sure, dermatologists is a great way to start. And these days, derms are fantastic because they do the treatment side, but they also now are really well versed on the whole routine, so they can also help you build a customized skincare ritual.
Okay, so you think if you're kind of at the end of your routine or something really isn't working for months, to go to a dermatologist, but before that to just do your own research?
I would, yeah.
And then when it comes to like testing out a new product and seeing how long that takes, if someone comes to you guys and you're like, okay, try this serum, what is your timeline for saying try this serum for this amount of time to see if it works? Because I'll try something once and I'm like, my skin's still dry. This doesn't work. I'm over it.
Depends on what you're trying to solve for. If you're looking for lines, wrinkles, firmness, that takes quite a few weeks to work. You've got to get to the deeper levels. You've got to get consistent use. We do our clinical trials up to 12 weeks. We do see results in those areas before, but give it 12 weeks if you want to see real smoothing, firming, deeper set wrinkle reduction. If you're more worried about pigmentation, uneven skin tone, it's more in tune with a sort of a monthly skin cycle where your skin cells naturally refresh every month. So yeah, like 4 weeks, you can start to see fading of uneven skin tone. If it's blemishes and congestion, actually that can be really quick. That can be a week or two. Some things work overnight, to sort of calm down blemishes. So that can be quite a faster area of results that you'll start to notice.
Well, so what is your opinion then or advice for someone who's dealing with like pretty acute acne? I have always had really good skin. I think it's because my mom has such dry skin. Is that why? Like people who, I think it's if you have drier skin, you don't have as many breakouts.
There is some truth in that.
Okay.
There is some truth in that, yeah.
So anyone who always is like, tells me I have dry skin, I'm like, thank you, I know, but not in like, I know I'm the best. I just know because my mom also has never dealt with acne. But then I have girlfriends who I feel really bad about, just on a personal, but also on a confidence level for young women who are really struggling with acne. So any advice for them?
For sure. There's some really useful ingredients in this space. I'd say firstly, don't overdo it, right? So don't overdo it when it comes to your skincare, because blemish-prone skin, congested skin is imbalanced, and your skin is naturally trying to balance itself out. And if you're intervening with too heavy skincare or too harsh skincare, that is actually creating more problems for your skin. You could actually start to strip away your oils, so your skin actually overcompensates and produces more oils, and then that's more congestion. Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it with your cleansing. Don't strip away your oils. Use a mild cleanser. Use it daily to clear away impurities and any buildup of cells and oil. But like a gentle cleanser, use it regularly. Don't overdo it. Don't be tempted to exfoliate too much, and use scrubs. Use mild acids, or salicylic acid toner, for example, that's been formulated well to not over irritate. So you've got that congestion. Definitely a retinoid is really useful because it actually reduces the amount of oil this skin's producing. It also helps to naturally exfoliate. So you're just preventing the buildup of oil and dead skin on your surface, which leads to those visible blemishes. So yeah, like don't overdo it. And then there's also just like the hygiene stuff, like kind of wash your pillows frequently. And
how frequently?
Like at least once a week, or maybe even more.
That's a lot.
Okay. I know. It can
Wait,
be.
your pillows or your pillowcase?
Pillowcases, yeah. No, that would be extreme.
I was like, wow.
Just so I think just that kind of stuff. And if you're washing conditioner out your hair, make sure it goes down the back and not down your face, because it's just like keeping your skin really clean. And then like keeping it. Actually, you mentioned dry skin. One thing that's really important for blemish-prone skin is actually to keep it moisturized. You don't want to dry it out, because, as I said, that skin can overcompensate. So use a nice lightweight emollient moisturizer at the end of your routine, morning and night. So just some like consistent staples. And then there of course there are other, if you have more chronic acne, for sure go to your dermatologist. There's other treatments available.
How much of it is genetics? Like when I say my mom has really dry skin, and I think that's why I also have dry skin and not a lot of breakouts.
A lot of it is genetic, and a lot of it is lifestyle and environmental. It usually is both. So, sometimes, I think if it's genetic, it just means that it's not necessarily a kind of a fix. It's about, okay, this is just my skincare routine, because these things will just naturally occur. And maybe that will change over time. As you get older, I think your skin changes. But if it's more of an environment, if you're really stressed out, or if you've just moved to a new place, or you're on holiday, whatever, your skin may go through a change, and that can lead to blemishes. And then it's a case of, okay, I just need to kind of mix it up, my routine up for a period until it goes away.
On the topic of marketing, I have had over the years, so many brands like send me stuff, whatnot. And a lot of times I'll go on and it will say like anti-aging or wrinkles or whatnot. Now, as a 27-year-old young adult, I don't really I have wrinkles. Like I used to get Botox, then I just stopped because I didn't want to pay for it anymore. But with those terms, right? At what age are you supposed to know, should I be using anti-aging skincare? Like, I love free stuff. So if someone's like, oh, I'll send you wrinkle-free cream or whatever, but do I really need to be using that?
It can be quite useful to start a bit younger because, there's the corrective part of, rejuvenation and increasing your skin's firmness, lines and wrinkles, where you're actually trying to reverse whether it's sun damage or intrinsic aging. But actually, there can be a preventative angle to especially when it comes to retinoids, because retinoids, retinal, what we use, they actually prevent the breakdown of collagen, and they keep the production of collagen ongoing, and it stops the decline in how much collagen your skin's producing. So you're actually giving your skin sort of longevity from an earlier age. So that's why we recommend retinoids from sort of late teens, early 20s. Doesn't mean you should go to the high doses. That can be more when you need to go and correct the issues that become visible. But yeah, like using antioxidants, which is often in that kind of skin aging space. Antioxidants and retinoids can actually prevent the visible onset of aging. So it's something you can get ahead of.
So then if I am in my 20s, and there was a cream next to me that was like this regular just redness neutralizing moisturizer or an anti-aging one, how am I supposed to know which one to use?
Well, I think this comes down to more your routine. So I think if you have a particular issue with redness, then yeah, you need a product that solves for that. Sometimes you can combine that with in one product. Other times you might just have a couple of steps. So I think generally you do want to have kind of ingredients that are protecting your skin's longevity alongside any particular issues that you have. And I think, yeah, you could kind of balance that out across your routine.
So the anti-aging and the fine lines and the wrinkles marketing terms are not just clickbait marketing terms.
Not necessarily. I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but that if you're using clinically proven ingredients that help your skin naturally stay firm and plump and smooth, often that's called sort of like early signs, of aging. I would have that as part of your routine, yes, even if you don't see any visible issues just yet.
Yeah, it's so simple when you said like, okay, if you have redness, use a redness moisturizer instead of anti-aging. And I'm like, wow, actually, I guess that I should have known that would answer that question. You're a dad to 3 daughters, you said.
1 daughter and 2 sons.
2 sons, yeah. Okay. Well, I have a lot of friends who have kids, and they say that a lot of their kids start coming to them at like 12, 13, 14. One in particular, a friend of mine who I was in Lisbon with for Web Summit, and his 13-year-old, I think, daughter said she saw something online, or her friends were using some like Sol de Janeiro brand, which I was like, I'm pretty sure this is for older people. And he was like, she came to me and she was like, Dad, we need to go to Sephora now, and I need this product now. And I just was like so overwhelmed for him, because I mean, how do you even advise these kids? But then of course their friends have it, and it's like, what is the right line? That particular product to me seemed way too old for a 13-year-old, but like, what are you going to say? No? I guess yes, you'll say no, but then all her friends are getting it. So as a parent, I mean, any advice for other parents who are listening and going through that?
I would say, it's fine to have fun with it, for sure. I think Rio de Janeiro is a great, Sol de Janeiro is a really fun brand, beautiful textures, great body cream. So if it's just about, obviously quite expensive if you buy for your kid, from an early age. So if it's about fun and just like, enjoyable routine, okay, great, that's fine. If you notice your kid is starting to get concerned with your skin, overly concerned with like the appearance of their skin at that age, and starting to think about, more serious ingredients, acids, like I would do your absolute very best to stay clear of that, because it's like you can become so obsessive at that age, and it's just like we shouldn't be worrying about that. No. They say there's enough to worry about later. Like let's just put them off it. Like it's fine to have skincare at a young age, but really, really simple. Obviously, acne is a real issue when you're younger, right? For a lot of people, have a really basic routine. Keep your skin clean and moisturized with basic stuff, basic. Really try your best to avoid that perception of need at that age, because you become so obsessive, and it's expensive, and it's also there's more important things to worry about at that age.
How do you then, as a father, I'm assuming also with your partner, go about talking to your kids? And I don't know how old your kids are.
Luckily, we haven't crossed this bridge yet, and they already. I mean, my daughter. So we obviously have. The kids have a lot of, but they're very young, so they haven't had the skincare conversation yet. But yeah, like my daughter, she's 4, bless her. She knows that Dad makes like skin creams, and after she has a bath, sometimes I put some cream on her, and she's like, "Is that one of your creams, Dad?" So yeah, like we make it fun and that, but we'll cross that bridge. I think right now she's starting to look at makeup, and like obviously she's 4, so she's kind of not doing a great job with it. But it's very fun, and it's all part of like dress up, so that's fine. But yeah, like I'm very mindful of it when it starts to become something that she sees her friends doing, and at some point she's going to get a phone. So you know what? I don't know how we're going to cross that bridge, but it's something I'm very aware of, especially when I bring home or like loads of skincare.
Yeah,
like she's going to be very exposed to it.
But it's good because at a young age, right, you're able to create that conversation. I mean, 99.9% of parents don't have skincare companies. So it's going to be like my friend whose daughter is like, I saw it online, or my friends. So it's nice, though, to hear that, you don't have to have all the answers, right? But I think that maybe it is a good thing as a parent at a young age to have some of those conversations. She's seeing it because you're coming home with the stuff, but perhaps other parents can like start the conversation a little bit young with some of their products they're using so that they're able to become, I think, confident about skincare at a younger age.
Absolutely. And for me, that the broader piece is just to make sure they're confident in themselves.
Yeah.
So that they're not turning to products, they care about, how they look and how they present in the world, but it's not how they see themselves. It's not that kind of what defines them. And I think that's something I'm very mindful of, to address that as a fundamental level. They have intrinsic confidence in themselves. So they're making products that they actually, they want to use it for fun, and, that it's not really kind of beyond that.
I'm reading this incredible book called The Body Keeps Score. I got it a few weeks ago at a bookstore. And I had no idea how much parents, like literally parents who fuck up their kids or are fucked up, which every parent is like a little bit fucked up, I guess, in a fine way. But like you literally as a parent create everything that your child does. And it's like all of these case studies on parents and bad parenting and good parenting. And it's like all of the things that parents say or don't do completely shapes a child. I had no idea. I mean, I think it's the most inspiring book because, again, like everyone's got problems, but it's like the way that you say certain things or certain incidents that happen can completely affect a young person's life into their adulthood, especially with confidence.
It's scary as a parent. You try your best, and
Yeah.
and you know what, I think like there's a lot of literature now where it's like, oh God, parents can't do anything right these days. You try your best, but I actually think there are some real nuggets of wisdom in there. And you're right. Sometimes it comes down to phrasing, and it can be really easy to make some of these simple changes in how you talk about anything, like a situation. But yeah, I think for me, what's most important is just kind of lead by example. Like just be authentic, demonstrate what happy, loving life looks like. And I think that's going to do most of the work.
So what are some of the most common questions you at Medik8 get asked?
How to simplify my routine, which we've covered it a lot. So, as you said, those 3 steps, building and, those with those 3 ingredients, the CSA, and then, a moisturizer and a cleanser, like keep it simple. We get obviously a lot of questions about vitamin A and retinoids, because that's kind of our, that's our area of special, where we really have kind of defined a lot of in the market. So people really kind of turn to us for knowledge in that area. So can you use retinol during the summer? The answer is yes, you can. You always use an SPF with it because it naturally exfoliates.
Under or over makeup with an SPF?
Under makeup. Mm-hmm. Yeah, finish with makeup.
Like I just put makeup on and then the sunscreen on today. Is that wrong?
Well, it's best if you apply sunscreen directly to the skin before makeup.
Okay.
Yeah, before makeup. But you can top up. Like there's things that you can do post makeup these days, like sprays, like SPF sprays, and that's useful.
Do you have one? Medik8?
No, we don't. Okay. We don't. We have like idea. Really sort of long lasting sort of base creams that kind of keep you going. So so we get a lot in the retinoids. How what age should I start? And you've answered that a little bit. And can you use it during the summer? I get asked a lot. Should I be changing my routine a lot, or should I be consistent? And again, I think we've answered that. It's about like not actually changing too much in your routine. So those are probably the top 3.
What do you think, or do people come to you that have had problems with Botox or fillers?
Problems?
Yeah.
Such as?
I don't know, skincare being affected. I don't know anything about that, so I'm just curious. I mean, if that can ever affect your skin.
Well, it can do. It can do. I think, you go to a trusted professional because you can overdo it for sure. I mean, we're sold in the professional channel, so we historically were only available in clinics and with dermatologists and beauty therapists. So we obviously our audience was very much around aesthetic treatment clients, and many of those are Botox. So I think it's for us. We do. We consider how the products will interact, with kind of treatments and from all kinds, Botox, chemical peels. And so we do think about, when it comes to the professional space, what does good home care look like in that context, and also kind of to help people understand, how could skincare actually work to boost the results of those treatments.
Do you personally believe in Botox and or fillers?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, they work. I think just you do it in a really controlled way, with a trusted professional, and for sure, go for it. Yeah, I mean, it can look great.
Over the years, I had like a chin filler at some point, and then I read a lot of studies that it can kind of like start dissolving into the only way I think to get filler out is hyaluronic acid. Correct?
Yes.
I don't know if that's true.
To do what, sorry?
To dissolve filler, the only way to dissolve it is hyaluronic acid.
I'm not an expert, so I'm hesitant to go into that. Yeah.
But it wouldn't be anything that could like be dissolved by just like putting this on with any like form of an injectable. I guess if you were ever trying to like decrease, symptoms from filler or like redness or any inflammation, I would assume you would need to go to like an actual doctor versus just try and handle that on your own with skincare. Because people can have adverse reactions, right, to this stuff.
Yeah, I would really lean on the aesthetic doctor themselves for that, because they'll know about what's happening on a deeper level in terms of those interactions. So we actually have a sort of an advisory board with dermatologists on us. So we kind of have these conversations, but we always lean on the derm when it comes to potential side effects and how it may sort of complicate within skincare and how to redress those.
What about for dry skin? Any advice for people who have dry skin during, especially winter, or they're traveling a lot?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, don't over cleanse again. So to try and protect the skin's natural oils, it's like your skin does an amazing job of doing that.
What is over cleansing?
Leaving your skin, the cleanser on your skin for too long, overly physical when you're cleansing, using harsh pads or cloths, and also, of course, the choice of cleanser that you're using. So, it can be tempting to get one that's like super foamy and lathers up and heavily fragranced, and often that actually leads to dryness. So I think be prudent with your make an informed choice when it comes to that cleanser. Look at the claims from the brand. Has it been clinically tested to prevent, or consumer tested to prevent dryness? And sort of just like, and if you feel the skin, you can really kind of go by what your skin is telling you. If it feels dry and tight, consistency, it means that your skin shouldn't feel like that after your cleanse. And then for sure, like, use a great moisturizer. Use one. We believe in 3 fundamental pillars of moisturization, which is using humectants, which draw moisture, like glycerin, hyaluronic acid, as well as emollients like squalane and lipids, and then occlusives like dimethicone and petroleum. So, use moisturizers that have got sort of a well-rounded approach to that moisturizer. Again, you've got to lean on the brand because you're not going to be an expert in this subject. But yeah, again, find that brand that's got a kind of a well-rounded formulation that has been thoroughly tested.
You mentioned a few times about clinically tested, and it makes me think that a lot of these skincare brands are not clinically tested.
Most are not. It's much more common these days. Yeah, I mean, it's a very high standard clinical testing, and we're, as an industry, we're not a pharmaceutical industry, right? And our claims are driven by usually, and certainly historically, how the consumer feels. Like, what effect did they feel it had? Like, did their skin feel moisturized? Did it, this kind of thing. And that's really important because, the actual experience is paramount for skincare. So we do that consumer testing. But yeah, for sure, as the industry has changed and people have become a lot more skeptical with respect to marketing and claims, having a clinically tested product is a much higher standard of genuine efficacy and objective changes to the skin. And as a science-led brand, that's kind of the standard that we put our products through. Yeah. And it can be much easier for the consumer to kind of look at a clinical test and say, well, how much did that product reduce wrinkles, and to what degree and how quickly did it smooth the skin or reduce pigmentation, whatever. So yeah, that for us it's really important to validate the efficacy of our products and help consumers make that choice.
And what's the worst thing someone can do for their skin?
The worst
or to their skin?
I think it comes down to just bombarding it with just overdoing it. I know I've used that term a couple of times, just overdoing it. So overstimulating it. You know, we're seeing this whole issue with the barrier now, and that's because people were overdoing it with exfoliating acids. That's why we have this issue now, right? All of a sudden, this issue. So don't reach for the very highest concentration of every product that you can find. It doesn't necessarily mean it works better. Don't overcomplicate with the number of steps in your routine. As we said, don't over cleanse. Make informed choices. Don't change too much, and that, broadly speaking, that will do your skin its best service.
My makeup artist in LA said to me once, if you don't take your makeup off at night, it ages you like 27 years. Is that true?
You know what? There is. I do believe that you know, you do need to wash away what your skin builds up during the day, and that's makeup, that's pollution, everything that's coming from the air. So yeah, for sure. I think that really have that kind of reset every day is really good for your skin, because otherwise your skin's just constantly having to deal with all these other sort of external elements on the skin rather than just naturally rejuvenating itself every night. You know, this whole beauty sleep thing is real. Like, your skin rejuvenates every night, and whether it's dealing with strange, you know, substances from makeup on your skin, it's actually going to forget the important nightly rejuvenation. So I think there's some truth there.
What about a makeup wipe?
Problem with wipes is that they can be quite harsh for the skin. So I much prefer a cleansing oil or a cleansing balm. And we have a lovely oil called Lipid Balance from Medik8, which, again, you know, we obviously do quite serious skincare, but we also are big believers in the right cleansing, and that's why we have like a gentle but effective oil-based makeup removing cleanser.
So she's, I guess, right about the sleeping with your makeup on.
I would definitely start fresh every night, remove that makeup.
Something I can't understand is why I need to redo the same routine in the morning when, like, I didn't leave the house after I got in bed. So I wash my face, I cleanse it, moisturizer, and then I'm getting up 8 hours later and needing to re-cleanse, but I haven't left the same environment.
Such a good point. And
I've been thinking about this since this episode, like getting your pitch, because I was like, this makes I'm very curious.
It's so true. But there are certain things you should do in the morning to set yourself up for the day. So vitamin C is an antioxidant. Sunscreen is obviously protecting from ultraviolet. So, you know, and there's other things that you can do to set your skin up. You know, obviously moisturization, you know, creates a glow and obviously protects from dryness during the day. So there are certain things that you need. But when it comes to that cleansing point, I agree. There's not much that you need to remove from your skin in the morning. But so just use a very mild cleanser in the morning, and again, it just creates like a reset, because you do pick up things on, you know, on your sheets and whatever. So it's good. It's just a gentle reset, and then those kind of preparation products for the day.
But the side effects of not cleansing before your morning routine are not as bad as the side effects of sleeping in your makeup, correct?
Correct.
Daniel, you have been such a pleasure. Is there any other things that you could think of skincare-wise that people need to know about, or new products Medik8 is coming out with?
I mean, I wish I could say more. We've got a very exciting year ahead in terms of new products coming out. I think, you know, one thing with Medik8 is that we have very much tried and tested ingredients, and that's our timeless philosophy. We've mentioned it a few times, but we also are very much embracing the new emerging science, particularly with respect to biotechnology and what that presents in terms of skincare innovation. So yeah, expect some very new, novel technologies and products that kind of really speak to the latest concerns for people's skin in the next 12 months.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to another episode of Dare to be Fearless. If you want to find out more about Medik8 as well as some of my favorite products, the ones that I mentioned that I have been using in my routine, head to the show notes and make sure to follow Dare to be Fearless at Dare with the number 2 Be Fearless, as well as Alexa_Curtis on social media. And I'll see you back for a new episode of Dare to be Fearless next week.